Hey, I'm Pops, and I'm going to talk to you about the Tulsa King. That's right, Tulsa King is over on Paramount, and it is an interesting show. Sylvester Stallone. I've enjoyed it. This is episode 4. We talk about that episode, giving you some thoughts and complete breakdown. Spoiler warning, of course, for those of you who are a little bit newer to the channel. This centers around Sylvester Stallone, who plays Dwight, the general, a mafioso guy who's been behind the fence. He was in prison for 25 years. He's out. He'd gone to New York. They basically just sent him away to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And you have 4 or 5 different subplots, but everything revolves around Dwight. And actually, that's kind of some of the best parts of the show, and also kind of the show's undoing, because they aren't really universe building as well as I would have liked in the first 3 episodes. I will say in this episode, though, we do get 2 pieces that I think move forward really, really well. So the first one is Manny. So Manny is a dude that was in Oklahoma, finds out Dwight is there, thinks Dwight's there to kill him. So he tries to kill Dwight. So we had an attempted shooting. Actually, it was during Dwight's driving test, which actually was kind of a funny sequence. And Dwight has basically staked that situation out, tracked him back to a ranch because he found clues in the car, and he confronts Manny, whose real name is Armand, and basically has him held at gunpoint in the kitchen. He's like, "Who hired you?" That kind of thing, and they kind of stand off. Now, the only thing that was kind of weird about the scene was he makes this reference to this guy in Dwight's past that betrayed him. So unless we're going to get a little bit more of that at some point, it was kind of a weird throw-in that we either didn't need or just kind of muddies things up for no reason. Maybe we could have a flashback or something like that. Anyway, long story, a little bit shorter, is that it comes to a head. He's trapped, basically, and he now works for Dwight. Wife comes in. The wife's kind of a witchy lady in the beginning part of all this. And Manny basically comes clean. He had not been coming. He's been in Oklahoma for years now. And everybody thought Dwight was going to turn. And when Dwight was there in Oklahoma, he thought he was going to get hit. So he thought he was the one going to get whacked. So he's trying to pay. He's trying to be a good earner. There's a silly cutaway scene with how that works. And Manny, of course, is included into this episode's brawl. We have our first real interesting brawl. So there's also an ATF worker. So an ATF worker is named Stacy. Dwight had met her while they were out partying with some girls, like a bachelorette thing. They have sleeping together, finds out she's ATF. Anyway, she's sort of like a quasi love interest, but she's also like the police mechanisms for us to follow what they're doing, how the officials are doing. They're monitoring mostly. They have Dwight kind of on their radar, but they're more importantly watching like a 1%er, like a supremacist group. So she's there, and there's this, basically it's like her dating and getting back out there is part of her storyline. Now the main conflict in this episode kind of continues a story that was set up last time, and that is there's a festival in town. Dwight has partnered with the local medicinal marijuana outlet, and this festival has an outlet where they sell nitrous. They get balloons, sell nitrous. He uses the bartender and their restaurant to get all these tanks, and they're there. So the first time they do that, they're confronted, but nothing comes of it. Then whenever they go back and they tell the gang leader, he has those guys who failed, who gave up basically territory to Dwight's group, had them basically beaten. And when they come back to the festival the second time, now they're violently attacked and they're robbed. They're called the Black Macadam. And Dwight just kind of blows off that it's a big deal, starts talking about reading The Art of War. They try to make him sort of quasi-philosophical because he read in prison. It's kind of like the least interesting element of his character. I don't mind them trying to do that. And I'm sure they're the mafioso guys who read a lot in prison or whatever, so they think they're smarter than they actually are. It doesn't really translate well for me, but it's not terrible either. Now, Dwight also has a driver, an assistant, partner in all of this, and his name is Tyson. And Tyson's dad is not happy about all of this. He wanted him to be more like a regular, 9-to-5 cot job. He works as a plumber, so they have some conflict there. That's kind of flushed out a little bit. And he ultimately goes to where they're meeting. They're meeting up So you have Bodie. You have Bodie's friend at the medicinal marijuana outlet. His name is Badface. He's an Indian dude, big Indian dude. The security guy at the marijuana place. They're all coming together with Dwight's leadership. It opens the trunk and says, here's all these bats. They're going to go down. And you have this sort of intercut of war. What is it good for? And it's intercut, though, with Stacy sleeping with that other dude, which was really distracting and really bad editing. Did not like that at all. Anyway, so it works out really well. Tyson's dad saves him at one point. Bodie gets saved by Badface, but Bodie mans up. Armand, who's now Manny is now Armand, saves Dwight at one point, making good on his debt. So they leave. They're victorious. They're battered. They're beaten or whatever. So all of that works really well. This is a really good episode to move the Tyson storyline along with the dad, have that relationship with Dwight kind of involved. You have this Armand Manny thing. I didn't even know we had two different characters at some point. I was very confused in different scenes with how they were cut because this stuff would just kind of be dropped down. Nothing was done with it. So I'm glad they're doing something with that. Now, the one thing that is awkwardly inserted in this episode is the backstory of Dwight's sister. He's calling and talking with her about their brother Joe, and he's dying from lymphoma, and he hasn't seen him since he went to prison. So, excuse me. It's still trying to show this softer side of Dwight. They did a lot of this in episode 2, and it's, again, kind of the weaker element because for some reason we just can't connect to Dwight in this way. Like when they did Sopranos with Tony, you really, really were connected to his concerns, his panic attacks, and the problems that Tony was feeling, his fears. With Dwight, I just don't get it. I just don't feel it, and I don't know exactly where the problem lies. I can't really put my finger on it. And I'm sure one of you in comment will, maybe in chat will kind of let me know exactly what you think. Because I don't think Stallone's bad. It's just something's not quite makes me emphasize and nuts with it. He did happen with the daughter, wouldn't connect with him. Now the sister, losing the brother. And it was kind of an emotional moment with the brother. I like the scene, but just that stuff's not really working. I hated this Stacy sleeping with a random dude thing. And it was intercut with the fight scene, which was just really dumb. I hated all that. Now, best part of the episode had to be the end with Manny. So Manny's been bickering with the wife. She's talking about getting a realtor, like they're going to move or something. And so he rolls up in the morning. He's all battered from the fight. And all along, I think it even happened in a couple other episodes, but there's like the neighbor's dog's pooping in his yard thing, right? And he steps in it. So he's got some cuts. He feels rejuvenated because of this fight, steps in it, walks across the street, sees this guy, smears it on his face. The wife's like, "Where have you been? Get back in the house." And he's like, starts beating this dude, bashing him. She's like, "No." So when he starts walking, she's like, "We have a Zoom call, whatever." So we got a home. And I'm like, whoa, Armand is back. No more Manny. Like, dude, that there's actually like plot development and a character. And like, we actually get Manny and he becoming Armand again. He's mafioso again. Got it. So there's a few other things. And I don't necessarily disagree with the Dwightisms because they have like that fish out of water, Rumpelstiltskin thing. Like he's been out of society for 25 years and nothing works. He doesn't like the fact that there's anything tracking he and Tyson. So he throws the toll thing that's in the windshield of the SUV out the window. He makes a Kenny Rogers thing, stuff like that. So overall, I'm still enjoying the show. I like it. I think it's a fine watch. I am not going to pretend that it's anything particularly extra special at this point. It's just good. It's not, it's not great. I don't think it supplants some of the other, mafioso stuff like Boardwalk Empire or Sopranos and things where these creators came from. But it's mostly because the world building has been so slow. And maybe if we continue to see Armand stuff, we continue to see more Tyson stuff, we can see more stuff maybe both with Bodie, and maybe this changes Badface. And Badface is there because he's an interesting character that kind of like was good in this episode. I like the fact that he was like awkwardly trying to say thank you and stuff like that. This stuff worked. So a lot of positives. Still like the show. Love your thought. Tell me what you guys think in the chat and stuff like that. I'm Pops. That's my take. Thank you so much.
Ross, all I do is chill.